At first glance, Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced might seem like nothing more than a standard visual upgrade. And that's exactly what I thought too. But after comparing both versions shot by shot, I discovered something I wasn't expecting. From Edward's facial details, to the animals, to the water, and even certain underwater scenes that have been completely transformed. The changes may seem small on their own, but together, they make the game feel dramatically different from what it was back in 2013. In this video, we're gonna find out whether Black Flag Resynced is simply a prettier version of the original, or if it truly is the best way to experience Black Flag today. Let's start with Edward Kenway. It is good to mention first that the character design itself has not changed. The clothes, the facial features, and even the art style remain the same. This is important because what we see here is not a redesign of the character, but a representation of it using newer technologies. The first noticeable difference is the lighting. In the 2013 version, the character appears relatively evenly lit, so there's no significant difference between fabric, leather, and metal in terms of how they interact with light. As for the new version, each material now responds to lighting differently. Fabric appears with clearer folds, and leather reflects light slightly in a way that suits its nature, while metal pieces catch much clearer reflections, which makes each part of the clothing retain its own texture, instead of all of them looking similar. Then we get to the face. Here, the improvement does not rely solely on an increase in details, but on the way they are presented. The skin now contains subtle color gradients that make it less flat in close-up shots, and the shadows around the eyes and mouth appear softer, so the facial features look clearer without changing their shape. The stitches on the clothes have become clearer, the leather on the belts looks rougher, the boots show signs of wear and tear much better, and even the hidden blade has edges and reflections that are more precise than before. Next, the comparison moves to the animals. These shots might seem simple, but they reveal the level of attention to detail across the entire world, not just the main character. Let's start with the crab. In the original version, the shell looks almost like a single color, with limited details on its surface. In the new version, however, the color variations are clearer, and the lighting highlights the shape of the shell and its curves much better, giving it an appearance that is closer to its true nature. Then, the rat. The difference here is not about the size of the model, but the way the fur is rendered. In the new version, the fur has become clearer, and it is easy to distinguish the shape of the body under the lighting, so the movement looks more natural, even before noticing any difference in the animations. After that, we get to the birds. Here, the improvement is not limited to an increase in feather details. Notice the way they move. In the original version, the wing movement looks largely uniform and light, while in the new version, it has become smoother. Furthermore, the feathers and beaks benefit from the new lighting, so their details appear clearer as the camera gets closer. The same thing applies to the rest of the animals. Turtle shells now bear more details, iguana scales are clearer under the sunlight, the ocelot's fur looks denser, and its colors appear in more varied shades. Even the deer and hutias benefit from the same improvements, whether in the textures or in the way the lighting interacts with the fur. What I like about this section is that the improvements were not limited to the elements the player focuses on all the time. Rather, they extended to the small creatures you sometimes pass by without paying them any attention. And when all the elements of the world receive the same level of care, the result becomes more balanced. You might not stop during gameplay to examine a crab or a bird, but the presence of these details everywhere is what makes the world feel more convincing, even when you aren't focusing on them directly. After seeing how the character has changed and how the animals have become more integrated with the environment, the most important question remains: did the world itself receive the same amount of attention? From the very first shot inside the city, the answer seems clear. Not because the buildings changed, but because the way they are lit has changed. In the original version, the walls and floors appear lit to a similar degree, so some scenes look flat, especially in open areas. But here, the lighting now adds depth to the place. The shadows are softer, and the light reflects between the buildings in a way that makes alleys and squares look more vibrant, even in static shots. But what benefits the most from this development is the sea. And this is not surprising, as the sea has always been one of the most important elements of Black Flag. In the sailing shot at sunset, the difference is apparent from the very first moment. In the original version, the water reflects sunlight in a simple way, whereas the reflections in the new version constantly change with the movement of the waves. You don't feel like you are looking at a single moving surface, but rather at a large volume of water interacting with light at every moment. Even the waves themselves look less uniform. And this makes the boat's movement more in harmony with the sea surface. Then we get to diving. And here, the environment begins to show details that are hard to notice during normal gameplay. Underwater visibility has become clearer, but without looking unrealistic. You notice small particles moving with the water, and the coral reefs have become more varied in colors and shapes, which gives the seabed greater visual diversity than before. Also, sunlight no longer stops at the water's surface. Rather, it penetrates it gradually, illuminating parts of the bottom and leaving other parts in the shadow, which gives the scene a natural depth. After that, the comparison takes us to one of the most famous scenes in the game, the giant squid puzzle. In the original version, the idea itself was interesting, but the limited details made the scene rely more on the player's imagination. But here, the scene has become more visually convincing. The squid's tentacles now bear clearer details, and the suckers along them can be distinguished more easily. Their texture also looks wet, which suits the nature of this creature. But what caught my attention the most is not the squid itself, but the surrounding environment. The water becomes darker as the depth increases, and the light fades gradually, which adds a sense of distance without the need for any exaggerated effects. In the background, the whale appears, trying to escape from the tentacles. This detail was present in the original version too, but the increased quality of the models and lighting makes the scene clearer, and thus it becomes easier to notice what is happening in the background without the shot losing its sense of mystery. After that, the comparison moves to animal encounters. And here we notice that the improvements were not limited to the appearance of the animals only, but extended to how they interact with the environment. When confronting the ocelot, the movement looks smoother, and the animal's transition between running and attacking looks more natural. And when the encounter ends, the fur details appear more clearly during the skinning process, which is a small detail, but it aligns with the level of quality we have seen since the beginning of the video. As for the crocodile encounter, it focuses on a different element: the water. With every movement during the clash, water splashes around Edward and the crocodile in a way that matches the force of the movement, making the fight inside the swamp more visually convincing. Moreover, the crocodile's scales now retain their texture even when wet, so they do not turn into a completely shiny surface as used to happen in the original version. Finally, the wild boar. Here, the interaction of both of them with the sand during the chase and the clash catches the attention. Instead of each of them passing over the ground without a noticeable effect, the sand now responds to the movement much better, which gives the encounter a greater sense of friction with the environment. These are details that might pass by quickly during gameplay, but their presence makes every encounter look more connected to the surrounding world, instead of just being animations playing on top of it. After that, the comparison moves to a scene that might only take a few seconds during gameplay: the drowning scene. In the 2013 version, running out of oxygen was represented in a straightforward manner. The screen gradually loses its colors until desynchronization occurs. As for the new version, the effect relies more on blurring the vision. The image gradually becomes distorted, and the lighting becomes less stable, as if the game is trying to convey the feeling of losing focus underwater, instead of simply changing the screen's colors. It is a simple change, but it makes the end look more natural. After that, we reach one of the most distinctive activities in Black Flag: harpooning. And here, water becomes the main element in the scene. From the moment the harpoon is thrown, it can be noticed that the water's surface is no longer just a visual effect. Every impact generates ripples that expand gradually, moving according to the direction and speed of the movement. And when the harpoon hits the shark, the blood spreads in the water in a calmer and more natural way, instead of appearing as a static block of color. Then comes the moment the white whale collides with the boat. In the original version, the scene served its purpose, but the collision details were limited. But here, the water moves with the force of the hit, and pieces of wood fly in different directions, making the collision look more convincing without the need for exaggerated effects. And after the hunt ends, comes the shot of pulling the shark onto the jackdaw ship. It might seem like a short shot, but it reveals a clear difference in the quality of the textures. The shark's skin retains its wet shine, and the reflection of light on it changes with every movement, giving it an appearance closer to reality. After that, the comparison moves to the non-playable characters, NPCs. Often, these characters are the first to reveal the level of care put into the game world. In the original version, the characters perform their daily routines convincingly, but the details are limited due to the capabilities of that time. Here, however, the improvement is not limited to the characters' faces or clothes. It extends to the tools they use as well. Hammers, wooden planks, haystacks, and even farming tools now bear more details than before. And during daily tasks, whether hammering nails, sawing wood, harvesting sugarcane, or sweeping streets, the textures look more varied, and the shadows help separate the characters from the environment instead of blending into it. Even the person sitting on the wooden raft in the water, the raft's wood itself looks more realistic thanks to its details and the reflection of light on it. These shots don't showcase new technologies as much as they confirm that the level of improvement encompassed most elements of the world, not just the scenes the player focuses on. Then we reach the section that I consider the most important in the whole comparison: the water. It is easy to notice that the water quality has become better, but the reason is not just its color or resolution. Rather, it is the way it moves. Take the waterfall as an example. In the original version, the water looks like a surface continuously moving downwards. In the new version, however, the waterfall has volume. The water can be seen breaking apart as it falls, then turning into mist upon colliding with the rocks, before foam forms at the bottom. These three stages happen smoothly, making the scene look closer to real water movement. Then the comparison moves to the beach water, and here appears one of the most beautiful details. When sunlight hits the surface of the water, its effect is not limited to the surface alone. It reaches the bottom as well. Dynamic light reflections appear on the sand and rocks, constantly changing with the movement of the waves. Moreover, the white foam now forms at the edges of the waves, then gradually disappears as the water recedes into the sea, instead of appearing as a static effect. All these details work together to give the scene a more varied movement, so the scene doesn't look like it is constantly repeating the same animation. After that comes the shot of diving from a high place. Here, the benefit of the new lighting appears once again. Sunlight penetrates the water's surface, but it doesn't reach all places to the same degree. The deeper it gets, the softer the lighting becomes, while areas closer to the surface remain brighter. Schools of fish and coral reefs also benefit from this variation in lighting, making the underwater environment look deeper without the need to increase the density of elements within it. And when opening the loot chest at the bottom, it becomes easy to notice that the details surrounding the character no longer disappear into the shadows like in the original version, but remain clear to a degree that maintains the realism of the scene. Finally, the comparison concludes with a simple detail, but it summarizes most of the improvements we have seen throughout the video: wading through water. In the shallow beach water, every step now leaves a different trace, depending on the speed of movement. If Edward walks quietly, the water moves gently around his feet, and if he runs, the ripples increase and droplets splash in a way that matches the force of the movement. In swamp waters, however, the behavior is different. The dark water appears denser and moves more slowly, which gives each environment its own unique character, instead of the game using the same effect in all locations. And here, the idea that has accompanied the comparison from the beginning becomes clear. The new version doesn't try to change the identity of Black Flag, nor does it redesign its world from scratch. Instead, it preserves everything that distinguished the original game, then uses modern technologies to present it in a way that is more consistent with current standards. That is why the biggest difference between the two versions is not the number of details, but that the world has become more cohesive. Every element, from the main character to the smallest animal to the water the ship moves on, looks like it belongs to the same world. And this is what makes this comparison enjoyable to watch, even for those who have played Black Flag dozens of times before. And with that, we have reached the end of the comparison. As we've seen, it's not just about higher graphics or more precise textures, but a comprehensive development that made every part of the Black Flag world look more vibrant, from the lighting and water movement to the animals, environments, and even the small details that the player might not notice during gameplay. But now it's your turn. In your opinion, does Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced deserve to be considered the best way to experience Black Flag today? Or does the original version still retain its unique charm? Write your opinion in the comments, as I am very excited to read your perspectives. And if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the Pixel Peak channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any new video about the latest games, remakes, technical analyses, and detailed comparisons. Also, sharing the video with your friends helps the channel reach a larger number of gaming enthusiasts and supports the continuation of this type of content. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.